Welcome to Live from America podcast. Today is one of my happiest days ever because Noam Dworman is back after a long vacation. He was supervising the bombing in from Israel for a while, and now he's back.
How are you?
Great to see you online. I see him, of course, all the time, and he was kind enough to invite me in a beautiful vacation with his family. That was
I-
awesome. And Andrew Heaton, author, comedian, and he lives now in the very safe DC.
Extremely safe. I've been gone a minute, but apparently the National Guard got called in. They're picking up trash. There's like tanks laying around or something. I don't know. Anyway, good to be back.
How does it feel over there now?
Uh, I mean, DC's been weird since I got here. I moved here in October, and like three-quarters of the city is sitting Shiva at all times for Donald Trump and the administration, and then a bunch of people got fired. So it's not like fun vibes over here, but at least everybody's a former student council president, so that's good.
That's awesome. Well, for all the people and all the emails that didn't believe me that I didn't do anything to Noam as revenge, he's here live. I get emails all the time. He's like, "Where is Noam? Where is Noam?" He was just on vacation and living the life, and then the dates really didn't work for him. So, but a lot happening. Let's talk about the surge of political violence. Obviously, the shooting. What's your reaction on to it first when you first heard it?
My reaction to the shooting?
Yeah.
I um I mean of course it's horrifying. I mean I saw it. It was grotesque and you don't know, I don't know what to make of these things, to be honest, because my whole life things like this have happened. It does feel like we're in a new kind of risky era. Um I don't have as much to say about it as other people do. I'll only say that personally, by happenstance, I know people who know Charlie Kirk personally, who were absolutely devastated. One of them is not even a conservative person. It's just a journalist actually who struck up a relationship with him, which speaks to the appeal of his personality on people. And I take those things seriously. Not that if he was a son of a bitch, it'd make the murder. It's like there is something analytically wrong with even discussing what he thought. Was he nice in this context? It's inevitable. You can't help doing it because otherwise the conversation becomes very short. But it is important to know that it really doesn't matter who he was, what he stood for, what he believed in. That's not the point at all. As a matter of fact, it's the opposite of the point. The point is that in America, it's part of the game plan that we're going to be shoulder to shoulder with people who we abhor. And the whole enterprise crumbles if we imagine that that becomes even in slightly excuse for violence, or if in a slight way we say, maybe this one's not so bad, because it will come for us,
Yeah.
and it's immoral. Practically it'll come for you, and it's also immoral. So that's what I say about it.
I agree with you, and I think like I really liked him. I disagree with a lot of things they said, but he's one of the people that talks. Go and talk and open debate and stuff like that. Andrew,
Yeah, much the same. I did not know Charlie Kirk. I kind of knew him a little. I knew of him a little bit through social media, and I'm not really in the provocateur MAGA camp, so it didn't have any traction with me. But as Noam rightly points out, it doesn't really matter. Like, I wasn't a fan. I do not think he deserved to die.
Hmm.
I think political violence is awful, and assassinating somebody because you disagree with them is awful. So the entire situation's a tragedy and doesn't need any further qualifications from that. It's bad to murder people. It's bad to murder people because you politically disagree with them, and just full on bad. The parts of this that I am at least slightly hopeful on are that, given that Charlie Kirk was a divisive person and that he was a conservative, I have been heartened by the reaction of high profile Democrats in this slaying, in that the people that have followings and are in office seem to all be saying very similar things to us of Free speech is important. Murder is bad. Political violence is bad. There are people that are being ghoulish and are gleefully celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, or alternately are indicating that he brought it on himself and things like that, that I think we'd all agree are inappropriate. So far, those people, from what I can tell, are all nobodies on Twitter that don't actually have any clout. And I take that as a positive in light of a tragic situation, that at least the people leading on the Democratic side of the aisle appreciate how horrible this is and are not trying to put any further spin on it. I do wish that everybody would refrain from trying to turn this into a giant us versus them, right versus left kind of thing. I am seeing some rhetoric to that effect coming out of Fox and a few other outlets of like, this is the left, we're with the left, that kind of thing. Whenever somebody gets assassinated, and we've had a lot of political violence over the last few years, we could do a tit for tat Republican versus Democrat, but I think it's kind of stupid because no one's actually going to tally it up and determine which side's the good side based on that. Because I think intuitively everybody understands that a group of 40 million people or 46 million people, respectively, that's the Republican and Democratic parties, are going to have, in that prolific amount of people, there's going to be some amount of violent lunatics in them. And that doesn't mean that you're at war with the entire group. It doesn't mean that all the Democrats secretly want to gun somebody down. Just like when there was an attack in Minnesota on a state legislator here a month or two ago. That did not mean that all conservatives are violent or anything like that. So I do wish that the country would understand that this is not a burgeoning civil war between two monolithic groups of people. It's much more accurately, I think, a deranged lunatic that had political sensibilities and acted on them. But I think the lunatic part's probably going to be the main element in all this. That given the stakes of where we are and how heated everything has got, the best thing we can do is remember to be our best selves when we're interacting with people we disagree with, and not to dehumanize anybody. And humanizing people in general is probably a good step to do moving forward.
I've been living here for like 30 years now. I never kind of experienced that political violence in the US the last few years. No, have you lived in any? I mean, you grew up, obviously, both of you here. Was there any period of the history? I know there was a MLK and RFK and all that period, but there there any other period of time that was like that? Because it feels to me like it's so sad, and I don't want to say scary to me, but probably if I was younger, it would have been. Have you experienced that in
Can
the
I
US before?
jump in real quick? In 1992, I heard a bomb go off that killed 168 people in my hometown. I think it was more than 168 people. But like, I'm from Oklahoma.
Yeah, but I mean the one incident here and there, but I'm saying that
No, that was a big one, Hatem.
it was a big data point as far as data points go, Hatem.
Not for you guys, but for us.
I mean, no, what I'm trying to say is like when there's a big one, obviously it could be devastating. But I'm saying when it becomes almost like it's been going on for a while with different, we saw the Congress, we saw all these people. Like it seems like this has been the solution. It's not just one crazy person. It's been a lot of crazy people. So I don't know if you've been through that before in history in here.
Andrew, you asking a question? Me?
Yeah, you.
Well, I mean, I'd have to see a timeline. Yeah, of course, when I was young, I don't really remember JFK being killed, but I remember growing up that had been recent. I remember that. Now I do remember Martin Luther King being killed and RFK, and then people shooting at Gerald Ford, and then Ronald Reagan, and then Oklahoma City, and then and then the Weather Underground and bombing. Now, of course, in those days, I don't know if it doesn't really apply to Ford, and Reagan, but in those days, we had issues like Vietnam going on and civil rights. So George Wallace was shot. The temperature was even hotter, and in my mind, I always think to myself that we have really first world problems now. At the time when I was a kid, the civil rights movement and the Vietnam War, these were issues which really mattered to people. These college-age kids were getting shipped off and dying in tens of thousands. Black people, were sitting on the back of the bus, couldn't vote, openly derided, couldn't work. Like these were not just theoretical issues that applied to a tiny fraction of people and were trumped up. They were real. So part of this story to me is like, what are we really even arguing about today? Like, what the hell? What are people so upset about in this country? I know I'm successful. Maybe in some way I'm not seeing it, but I think I'm on pretty firm ground to know that whatever people are really up in arms about today, it does not compare to what was going on in the 60s and 70s, and yet the intensity is the same. That's that's just an observation. It's not really a direct answer to
That's
your
a great
question.
point. I think all the immigrants as well feel exactly like you do. It's like, what are you complaining about? It's
Well,
like,
it's true, and then I also want to say, just as an analytical matter, Andrew mentioned, lunatics or whatever word he used, killing people. There is a steady stream of lunatics that kill people now. And then some lunatic kills somebody and it has the whiff, or, more than a whiff, it has the stench of a political hit. And then we can't really know whether that's just another lunatic who killed somebody and chose to do it, choose somebody political, or it's actually a separate category all on its own that is not related to the general spike in lunatics who shoot people. There's just no way to know that. We have no control group. So, there's so much we don't know. Let's just
All of
hope
that's true.
let's just hope it doesn't metastasize. That's
Yeah,
all.
my main point on that was not that it's always a lunatic. I think it's entirely possible that this will wind up being, like John Hinckley Jr., who shot Reagan, wanted Jodie Foster to like him, right? So he's just a lunatic. There's nothing there. The guy that shot George Wallace, he just literally just wanted to kill somebody big so he'd be important. I'd put that in the lunatic category. This one, based on what I've seen, probably is political violence from somebody that, to some
From a
extent,
lunatic.
is deranged. Yeah. Ditto with like the Oklahoma City bombing and whatnot. So there are things that are politically motivated. My main thing is just, as the temperatures rise, it is not a helpful conversation. And I hasten to add, this is not what Hatem or Noam are saying. I do not think it's a helpful conversation to begin to sort the universe into my team and all you fuckers. Like, that's not a good way of looking at things. And it's certainly the idea that a depraved act done by somebody on the enemy team is emblematic of everybody on it. That's something that's very easy for partisan pundits to do. And it feels good because you get to be self-righteous and really angry and talk about how this is the other team deep down. They're all violent lunatics. But it doesn't, I don't think it reflects reality. And on top of that, again, nobody would actually change their mind on it. Like, if people are saying right now in this particular instance that, a unhinged progressive shot Charlie Kirk, and this is emblematic of how intolerant the left is. But if it turns out that no, actually he was a groyper, he was like a conservative online troll, like, no one's going to go, oh, my bad, it's conservatives that are the evil, violent ones. Like, everybody's just going to like dig into whatever their team is and then find evidence they can retcon into why the other team's shitty. And I don't like that impulse. Particularly, I don't like using like real tragedies where people die in order to play team sports in politics.
and
Now,
also,
well, Andrew, what do you think about, if you were to analyze the left versus the right, not just on how often they engage in the violence, but what their attitude has been about it, do you see any difference, or do you see it as an identical, indistinguishable group?
I think any group of people with 40 million plus people in it's going to be pretty polyglot. And if you're going to talk about 40 million people, it's better to, in your mind, picture the top 10% of ethical and intelligent folks rather than focus on the bottom 10%. And it's certainly better than cherry picking the lunatics. In terms of violence and tolerance, with violence, I actually don't know. I would need to look at the data on it, but it probably wouldn't change my mind on this. If we're going to do violence of politically motivated violent stuff, like, how far back are we going? What are we looking at? Like, I don't know. Like,
Let's just take in the Trump era.
in the Trump era, I think a lot of the animus is from people on the progressive side of it towards the Trump people, but you're going to find a fair amount of violence going the other way too, like the people that got shot in Minnesota here last month. I think that there's more tolerance of speech within the conservative movement at the moment than within the progressive movement, but I don't think that that's anything endemic or permanent. Like if we were to go back to the 60s, the progressives tended to be the ones that were pushing free speech. The conservatives tended to be the ones more inclined to censor it. I think that those impulses of whether you're censorious and authoritarian or whether you are open and tolerant and pluralistic, those are things that are not tethered to any particular group and changes throughout time. So right now, I think that like on college campuses, I would say that the progressives are less tolerant than the conservatives who are in the minority. But I don't know that there's anything like permanent about that or like some sort of cosmic through line that we can get.
Well, let me give you just my observation off the top of my head. I don't know how this comes down. Not so much about who does the shootings. And I guess before the Trump era, we had the guy Dylan Roof. You know, was that political? It was racist. I guess that's political. But just like just that comes to mind. There was, you know, the first thing that comes to mind is there was this spate of people like Sarah Huckabee Sanders being harassed in restaurants. You remember this for a while?
Yeah. Ted Cruz back when he was in DC. I remember that. Yeah.
And the left was, you know, cheering about that.
Yeah.
And I remember being very, very offended by that. You know, I said, what the hell? Like, and I remember thinking, I had an argument with my friend Dory, actually, like, you know, you don't know where this goes. You know, you can't draw it like people should, you hate them. You can eat in the restaurant. Like I have a restaurant. Yeah. Anybody that's a free human can come and eat in my restaurant. I will make sure they get their food on time. And I'm just going to,
and high quality food at that.
And yeah, I'm just like, you know, I'm just not going to go there, as they say. Right.
Yeah.
And then, but of course, then we had even worse on the almost similar and on the other side. And this actually, I never forgave. And I even tweeted about it at the time, I think. They were laughing it up. They were laughing it up all the way to the top. Trump, son, and I think Trump, when Paul Pelosi got hit over the head with a hammer. Right. Terrorized, almost killed, had to have brain surgery, concussion. They were making jokes about this. Now, I don't know if that was political violence or not. I don't remember. Maybe you do. But whatever. The reaction was within the political universe because it was Nancy Pelosi's husband, regardless of whatever the motivation of the attacker was. They did not give a shit that this 80, 90-year-old, how old? He was in his 80s?
Yeah. Got hit in the head with a hammer.
Within an inch of his life, and by the way, even if he hadn't been hit with a hammer, terrorized, you know, like you know, like can you imagine that experience, right? The heartlessness, the fucking heartlessness of these people stunned me because he's not even a politician, you know. But even if it's like I can't comprehend it, and it wasn't just the bottom 10%. This was not even a significant strike against the Trump people to the Trump voters. They just swept it right under the rug. Whether they
yeah, I agree, and there's a lot of selective memory about that.
And then during the BLM riots, we saw outrageous occurrences going on, and the Democrats, the left, did not care at all. As a matter of fact, they encouraged it. Kamala Harris wanted to bail them out. De Blasio told the police to stand down. The NPR had this thing in defense of looting. Now, of course, you know, and Nicole Hannah-Jones tried to say that looting wasn't violence. Just all this nonsense. Of course, anytime you, and it should be noted, anytime you're in a looting situation, someone might die. Like, it's not just like you could just go loot and, you know, the protector, like, you know, so it's reckless even if you only think that physical, you know, hurting a person is violence. Someone is likely to have the nerve to defend their store. And then all of a sudden you have a death. I'm surprised there were. So that you had that. Then what do we have in L side? I'm not trying to pick left or right. I'm just like, there's just been tolerance of it.
It's gone very far. Like, so I wrote a book. I'll pitch I didn't mean to pitch it, but it's actually very relevant to the conversation we're having. I wrote a book that came out in October called Tribalism is Dumb. And it's me talking all about this. Like, why did everybody become an asshole in American politics? Like what happened, right? And one of the things I talk about in the book is how you anticipate, how you view the other. And there's a lot of in-group, out-group psychology that's pretty basic and well-known that is both applied to politics and increasingly exacerbated by politics. So like one of the things that happens with any in-group, out-group dynamic, our group, whatever that is always a ragtag group of misfits that is so individualistic and unique and polyglot. It's amazing we can even get our shit together. Meanwhile, the other group that we're fighting, whoever it is always a bunch of monolithic myrmidons, and they are already drilling. They are already planning our defeat, and we have to get our shit together right now or they're going to ruin us. And it's kind of basic in-group psychology because we can see what all of the people around us are like. We can see the divisions in it. We can't really understand the other group as well, so we just infer that they are more monolithic than we are. And then there's a corollary with that in American politics, which is there's an increasing inference that the other side is more cruel and more competent than our side is. Therefore, we need to up our game in terms of cruelness and competence. And then there's this whole really, really awful way of looking at the world, which is in theory, I'm saying this theoretically. Let's say Noam's a Democrat and I'm a Republican, and I go, well, Noam has willfully decided on evil. It's not that he disagrees in terms of good things we both want to do. It's that he willfully wants evil. Therefore, he's an evil shitbag. Therefore, I am not only justified in being an asshole to him, it's a mitzvah for me to be an asshole to him. Like I am a morally upstanding person. Huh?
I'm so clipping this, just putting that part.
but that is part of it, and it's really sad. Like when I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and that was a relative period of political political friendliness that existed. There were absolutely things that happened, but I think that life in general was a little bit less political. There was a sense of I disagree with the Democratic Party, but at the end of the day, we link our arms and look across the Atlantic towards the Soviet menace, and we can count on our fellow Americans, and like all that kind of thing, right? Like that kind of existed. But
good impression. Good. By the way,
thank
go
you.
ahead.
Very relevant too. In the year of our Lord 2025, I can do a good Nixon as well. There was a presumption that the people that you disagreed with were your opponents, and being an opponent's very different than being an enemy. There's a difference between an opponent versus an existential enemy, in the same way that there's a difference between being wrong versus being in sin. And increasingly in American politics, we're in those two latter camps of it's not that you're wrong, it's that you have willfully decided to be evil. And it's not that you are my opponent, you are an existential threat to me. And when that's your framework, you do become intolerant because the other side's decided to be awful and they are subhumans. And maybe by being evil to them, by being horrible to them, they'll realize what shitbags they are and come around. It's also really bad logic because that's not how anybody works. If you just are really, really mean to your uncle because he voted for Trump, or really, really mean to your uncle because he voted for Kamala Harris, the likelihood that you're going to somehow neg him into your position is non-existent. No, that doesn't work on anybody.
I like to use the sports team analogy. I think a lot of people, it's becoming like this. My team, regardless, is always good. The other team, I would never join the other team. What's wrong with the other team? It's historic. And we won, they lost. We lose, they win. And we become a sore loser, you know. I want to ask about, you know,
Wait, can I say something? Sure. Yeah. So now this relates to a conversation I think I had with Andrew Heaton on his show about cancel culture. You might want to go back and listen.
Best episode ever. Thanks, Noam.
Thank you. And so you know, let's say Candace Owens. You know, there's nobody in public life I revile more than Candace Owens. I think actually she's verging on Nazi. She called a Jew a rodent the other day online, and you know, just like, you know, and she says Jews disappear. I'm sorry, Christians disappear every year on Passover. You know,
that's some 15th century anti-Semitic bullshit. Really?
Yeah. She says this stuff. She's all in, right? So let's say Candace Owens comes into the olive tree. Now, of course, I would love to say, get the fuck out of here. Are you crazy? Now, I wouldn't, right? I don't think I would. Now, why? No, I wouldn't. Why wouldn't I? Well, this is probably like my own naive thought process, but it wouldn't be harmful as a kind of a civic norm. It's just that Um, in this particular moment, I have power over the public sphere in a way that law enforcement normally does. And in the same way that, as much as I don't like the fact that, and this is what I think I said to Andrew in that other show, I don't like the fact that evidence is excluded from a courtroom that that uh, uh, um, implicates a murderer, clearly implicates a murderer, but it was obtained improperly, so we don't allow the evidence, and the murderer goes free. I don't like that. I don't like that that happens, but I do understand we have to have that rule because it all falls apart. And as a citizen, I'm on board with that. And similarly, because I know what would become of us if we didn't have that, and various similar things, free speech rules, whatever. As a business owner and as a citizen, this is my exclusionary rule. I don't like it. I don't like that some Nazi's going to come sit in my place and demand service. But I understand it's necessary for what we're doing. And as a citizen, I'm gonna swallow that. I'm gonna swallow it for the greater good. And I don't think anybody can argue that if what I'm saying were the norm across America, that would be a very, very healthy society. And by the way, at the same time, I will rail at somebody like Dave Smith for failing to criticize Candace Owens. I don't like that she's included in intellectual groups and people look the other way and don't call her out. I'm not asking hands off Candace Owens. I'm saying that Candace Owens should have the full right to participate in her life as a citizen in America without regard to what we think about her. And when she steps into the sphere of debate or whatever it is, they should pummel her. She should be stigmatized. Like, don't get me wrong. But if she goes into a restaurant, just like if evidence is obtained improperly, we as citizens should understand, no, this is the way it has to be. And actually, we should be proud of ourselves about it. And we should almost enjoy the fact that we are, or take pride in ourselves that we can do this and live this way. That makes us unique to the world. That's the way we should be. And we are it doesn't, somebody doesn't have to get murdered. That's the thing. It's the same thing with many other things. It's not really about the people who get killed. Very few people get killed. It's all the lesser things, the humiliations, the, like I said, being called out at a restaurant, these kind of things. These are actually just as dangerous, if not more dangerous, to our society than if from time to time somebody gets shot. I worry sometimes because I'm outspoken. Like, am I going to get grief if I go into that restaurant? And by the way, say one more thing, I'm talking along. This is why Hatem knows there are certain comedians out there who really cross the line in terms of what they say about Israel and the Jews, in my opinion. And Hatem knows I don't do a thing about it. They get just as many sets as they ever would. It's off base. I don't even consider it. It's not, because again, I'm not going to descend. We should not descend into that. And we are descending into that. Polls show children don't want their daughter to marry someone who might have voted for Trump. This is all the same thing, right? It's not just political violence. I see it as all one big problem. And the problem would be cured from the bottom, not from the top. The bottom is just accepting the fact and learning to live with the fact that there is a public sphere, and in the public sphere is not our business what people believe. That's really the key.
Noam or Hatem, if we previously talked about Daryl Davis, I feel like it would have come up at some point. Do either of you know Daryl Davis?
No.
Daryl Davis is a
the
great
guy
guy.
who converted the Klansmen.
You got it. Yeah. So as a primer, he made real big rounds on social media maybe a decade ago. So I think a lot of people will already be familiar with him. But for anybody unfamiliar with him, I think Daryl Davis is a goddamn hero. I think he's a great guy. He's also a really talented musician. I've seen him play. Daryl Davis was playing jazz music in Maryland, where he's from, and like breaking set. A couple of guys came up and were like, "Hey, can we buy you a beer?" Sure. And then guy number one's like, "Tell him the thing." And he's like, "I've never had a beer with a black guy before." And Daryl's like, "All right, it's kind of a weird thing to say, but whatever." And he's like, "Tell him the other thing." And he's like, "And I'm in the Klan." And Daryl was like, "Wait, what?" Like you've never even like, have you met a black guy before? No. Then why are you in the Klan? Like, how can you hate people that you've never even met? And Daryl's interpretation, obviously he found it odious, but he was also just genuinely curious as to like, how can you hate somebody as an abstract concept like that? And so he started meeting members of the Klan, and he would just call them up. He became friends with the Grand Dragon of the Maryland Klan, and would just call him and go, "Hey, I've got to run some sheet music across town. You want to hang out?" And he'd go, "Okay, I think you're an inferior race, but I'll come with you." And after, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, the guy called him and he's like, "Yeah, I'm leaving the Klan." And he's like, "Why?" He went, "You're one of my best friends." And he's now like brought over 200 or 300 people that are either part of the neo-Nazi movement or the Klan. And he's done it because he was humanizing with them. He interacted with them, and then they like were sort of forced to confront the fact that somebody that they liked and that was a good person was the other to whatever they were. I interviewed him on my show, The Political Orphanage, 3 or 4 years ago, and I asked him if the Klansman hadn't come around, if he'd stayed an unrepudiated racist, what would you have done? And Daryl went, "I'd have stayed friends with him. Like, I wasn't trying to trick the guy. I genuinely liked the guy. He had truly odious opinions that I vociferously inveighed against and really disliked. But there was some decency and humanity in him that appealed to me, and I liked him. And if he'd stayed racist, I would have stayed friends with him. I just would have hoped he'd quit it." And I think that kind of thing's probably a lot better at being able to bring people out of hate-filled positions than trying to kick them out of restaurants and stuff.
I think it takes two sides also, like him being able to talk to them and understand where they're coming from. And I see that somehow with Noam in a way. Like there's some people, let's say, I'm not gonna say who, but it's like some people like work at certain places and they have certain opinion about, like, say, Israel. He won't be as mad or even try to like just talk a little bit, understand where they grew up, how they grew up, why they feel that way, stuff like that. And those people will come around, vice versa also, like if somebody that, doesn't like the Arabs and then start working with them and be like, oh, okay, now it's different. But it have to be way opening and understanding they never met a black guy before. They never met, a Jewish guy, Arabic guy, Muslim guy, whatever. But back to the the assassination thing. Do you think it's because of the extreme media, or is it because of the political leaders? Also, one thing that I've been observing is like, which is, I think it's interesting. I don't think it's just mental health, because there is a lot of what's with the message on the bullet thing? That's a Hollywood thing. Like, I feel like now they're trying to do, like, it's more like I want attention and I want to write. Like now this is the I don't know, the one that executed the CEO as well, had a message in the bullet. And with this DNA and videos and stuff, you're gonna get caught in 2 days. You can just tell us later,
Well,
like,
let
why
me
you
ask a
have
question.
to...
How do they are the bullets bought with the messages already engraved on them from some
That's a good question.
I think
ammo purveyor?
That would be an incredible and ghoulish business. I think he wrote with a Sharpie on the casing shells, so when they popped out, they were written on the
I
shells.
I heard that was engraved.
It was
Are they?
engraved. Yeah, it was engraved. Yeah, I heard it was engraved.
So there's
I'm not
actually a
sure the whole
service
thing is
that does
reliable.
that. Wow.
And thanks for blocking my joke right at the end when it was like the punchline is coming.
I'll say it again. Take two. Go ahead.
You know how people... No, it's not gonna be the same. It's like with the DNA and the videotapes or cameras everywhere. You don't have to go through engraving. Just tell us in a couple of days and get caught. What you want to say. But the engraving thing, I feel like it's a Hollywood thing. Like I think they want more attention now. They want to go down in history. So back to my question: is it stream media or is it political leaders? Which one is it, do you think?
I'm divided on this, Hatem. On the one hand, I do think that we have an extremely polarized media, and if you want to include broadly social media and just influencers on Twitter, it gets even more polarized, and I think that does raise and jack up the overall temperature in the country, which probably has a lot of contextual effects. That being said, though, I'm very hesitant to blame murder on media people. I think ultimately the culpability has to lie with either the perpetrator or the mental health of the perpetrator. I think I'm very, very hesitant to go, oh, it's because like if a Democrat gets shot, it's because the Republicans are saying mean and nasty stuff. Or if a Republican gets shot, like Steve Scalise gets shot by a Bernie Sanders supporter, I don't hold Bernie Sanders accountable for the guy that shot Steve Scalise. I think Bernie Sanders would absolutely condemn that. I'm sure he absolutely condemned that. Uh, why it's increasing, I think, is a more relevant question than who is culpable for it.
Well, this is the analogy I always make, which is that global warming. I think by this time we realize climate change is real. Um, but of course, anytime there's a bad hurricane, people try to say it's climate change, it's climate change. But you don't know that because there's always been bad hurricanes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can't know in any individual act of violence whether it is the climate change which has caused it. On the other hand, we do know if we don't address climate change, we're going to have more and more of this. And we have a climate change in our politics, and we need to address it. And that doesn't mean we're going to go down to zero violence. We won't. There will always be some political violence. There will always be, but all we can do, just like all we can do as in an economic sense, is lower the carbon in the atmosphere. All we can do is lower the hate in the atmosphere, and then whatever we're left with is is the ambient
That's a
level.
really
That's
good
what we're at.
analogy. Can I steal that and pretend I came up with it now?
I'd be flattered if you would. Yes.
Nice. I'm going to
Can
take
you
that.
say
Thank
that
you.
you stole it from me?
Yeah. I'll say, yeah. Hatem, I'll say I stole it from you.
It is the correct analogy in my opinion.
No, I like that. So everybody's sort of like everybody's contributing to it, but there's no like one. You can't go, oh, a hurricane. Well, that's because ExxonMobil.
Right.
Like it's like nope, it's a big systemic problem, and it's the connection between the proximate problem and the overall context are pretty removed.
But you also saying that leaders like Bernie Sanders, whatever. I'm talking about more about like leaders like Trump, like or like what do they say? Oh, Trump, or the opposite of Trump. Like some leaders that have like a major impact on the people.
It's very important, this because this came up years ago. We talked about it on our show years ago. There was a terrible, the Tree of Life synagogue shooting under Trump, and people tried to blame that on Trump. But actually, there had been an attempt at a synagogue shooting that would have been just as horrible, but it was foiled somehow at the last minute under Obama. And this is where, if you want to look at things in a more scientific way, a lot of this stuff falls away. Like it's not like it could have been the opposite. It could have been that the horrible shooting was under Obama. Oklahoma City was under Clinton. Is that right?
Yeah, it was under Clinton.
And the one under Trump could have been foiled. You just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Trump himself got shot, so So
yeah,
that's
Trump,
but that's
there
very
were two attempts on Trump's life.
Yeah, but that's a very interesting thing about the engraving of the bullet. I think we got into something here. Who engraved these bullets? To make sure. What about like certain things that happened during after the shooting, like putting the flags on 9/11 halfway down? Some people were like, I don't know if you saw that all over the Twitter, or like people were upset. It's like, how come it's not halfway down in 9/11, but for Charlie Kirk? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Andrew,
the question is, what is my thought that they did the flags at half-mast for Charlie Kirk, but they didn't on 9/11? Is that the thing?
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I suppose, like, when you say they, are we talking about the White House or all federal buildings?
Ever have the power to? I believe it is the White House.
Okay. I didn't know that. I suppose that I guess we should put the flags at half-mast in perpetuity, kind of the way on 9/11, kind of the way we would for like Pearl Harbor or something. But I'm not too bent out of shape on that one. I mean, like, I think maybe 2-3 years ago was the first September 11th. That didn't occur to me. It was September 11th. Like at some point, it becomes a ceremonial thing rather than a visceral thing. So, I mean, you could convince me we should do one way or the other, but it's not something my blood's really up on.
Yeah, I don't know. What about all right, so let's move to the next one. Unless anybody will have any more thoughts on that.
No.
All right, so let's go to the Israel strike on Doha. Did you No, you didn't answer my text because you have a beautiful picture in Doha.
Or the embassy.
Well, I said it's in Doha. But
Put
what's your thoughts in the strike on now? There's a lot of saying like first of all, Qatar was in the middle of negotiation. It's new that you attack the negotiation country while they're trying to negotiate. There's also a question about did the US know or not know? Andrew, what's your thoughts on that?
I do not know this particular topic and have to defer
You
to
never
both
know
of you
anything
on it.
that's anti-Israel.
Huh?
You never
No,
know
I
anything.
like this is the one thing that like I can fucking wander into this, but in my experience, everybody paying attention to Israel and Gaza has a fucking master's degree in Israel and Gaza. And I'll ask like one question, and then people are like, how can you not bring up the 1943 pseudo Swedish accords that governed the Hamasian? I don't know all this stuff. So unfortunately, it's one I'm going to have to take a mulligan on, and I look forward to hearing from both of you.
Fine, no.
Well, I mean, the first thing I thought of when they did it was that you had told me back in on like October
Yep.
8th of 2023 that this is what they should do.
In the beginning, yeah.
Yeah.
The
So,
first thing they
oh,
should
now,
do.
but they shouldn't do it now. Is that
No,
it?
I said they should have done in the very beginning. I said this is the
Yeah.
first thing that they should do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you're kind of backed into a corner now. You can't really oppose it. But
I didn't say I oppose it.
yeah, I know. But my feeling is that I'm similar to Andrew, and I do have a master's degree in this stuff. I don't know. I always think to myself, yes, people debate whether or not we should have dropped the atom bomb on Japan. But what doesn't get debated so often is, and maybe people would disagree on it, but it doesn't come up, I guess, is whether or not we had a right to pursue that war until the Japanese surrendered. And from Israel's point of view, they are United States fighting Japan in 1945, and they are going to pursue this war until Hamas surrenders. So the first question really is that a moral aim? And everybody has to decide how they feel about that for themselves. I would say on Israel's side that if they don't do that, then they're going to get swarmed with drones and rockets 5, 10 years from now, a la Operation Spider's Web, where Ukraine overwhelmed Russia's defenses with a bunch of drones that cost less than $1,000 each. 5 years from now, the drones will cost a couple $100s each. And, Israel, there's no, even the people who hate Israel, when I ask them, well, spin it out for me. What's it going to look like for Israel 5 years from now? They all basically concede it's going to be hell for Israel 5 years from now if Hamas is still in charge. Hamas is going to beat its chest in victory. It's going to reconstitute. Israel is going to try to have some horribly draconian blockade. The world is going to say you're creating an outdoor prison. Hamas is going to smuggle. They're going to get rockets. They're going to do October 7th again, the first time Israel's asleep at the switch. So up against all that, Israel's trying this, and they're trying that, and they're trying this, and they're trying that, and then they up the ante, just like we upped the ante, and it's a fucking war. And the most healthy thing that the world could do would be to unite in the request to Hamas, or to urging Hamas to release the hostages and maybe even also surrender. But at minimum, the entire world should be adamant about Hamas releasing the hostages, because then at least then they would deprive Israel of one of its most powerful, indisputable claims for having the war. But really, they should ask Hamas to release the hostages and surrender. They should ask Hamas to surrender, and that would be the way to end the war. But instead, the world says, well, by September 15th, if this war is still going on, we're going to declare a Palestinian state. And Hamas says, okay, well, we're definitely not ending the war before September 15th. So that's how I see it. Will this work? Will that work? I think America probably knew about it. It seems a very ballsy move to do without telling America. Trump doesn't seem to be actually that upset about it. And let's see if it works. It's really a matter of whether it works or not. There's no rules here.
Yeah, I think we'll discuss it more next episode. Obviously, we have a guest can specialize on that. But I'll say this, you know, I said that from the beginning of the wars, like what Israel should have done in the beginning, instead of going and attack the civilians that's there, is go to the leadership, not only Israel, the whole world, called the United States. As you know, there's an American base in Qatar, so they should have gone and got their leadership and negotiate. I think that leadership is the responsible, not the civilian people that have been dying for a lot. However, I feel now that anytime we come close to a sort of deal, and I agree that only deal should be to release the hostages and surrender for Hamas, not only for the sake of Israel, it's for the sake of the Palestinian people,
especially for the sake of the Palestinians,
and all that.
especially.
But that's my the point is, like, when Hamas was doing the horrible thing to the Palestinian people, as usual, no one cared. But once they start doing it to other people, they start. But my point is this: is I feel like every time there is about to come to some sort of deal to stop the war, Israel take it to the next level to make sure that we do.
There's never been any deal. If you read into it, there's never been any.
Well, I mean, I saw
deal.
some interview with the Prime Minister of Qatar himself, as he met with some of the families of the hostages in Qatar that day.
There's a lot of things that are said and war, and some of it is disinformation, some of it's part of the PR war.
No, I'm talking about
if a nation or if an organization is ready to release its hostages and surrender, believe me, it wouldn't be something you had to take a magnifying glass to figure out.
I agree. I'm not saying Hamas did. I'm saying the attack was in the wrong timing. But anyway, let's move to the last.
Of course it is. Of course it is. When has anything Israel done ever not been the wrong timing as far as you're concerned? Ever. 100% of the time.
They had some perfect timing sometimes. I think there's some stuff that they did that was like, I understand the argument of like, we never know what the decision that is it right or wrong, but there's stuff that's so you could tell it's so wrong. But anyway, we'll discuss that in details next time.
Can I just say something? It always needs to be said. I just hope that everybody who listens really does do this infantile thought experiment and just imagine that in their town, rockets were coming in on a regular basis and they were going in and out of bomb shelters with their children. From time to time, somebody gets killed for the rest of their lives. And what would they expect their government to do? That's really all you need to think about to understand where Israel is coming from. Israel is not going to give itself the asterisk, because that's what people consider Israel, an asterisk nation, which doesn't have the same rights to self-defense that America would certainly not tolerate a rocket in Manhattan. One time, that would be it. One time. And we would kill as many people as required to make it stop. We do not allow Israel that same latitude because Israel is an asterisk nation in the minds of the progressive left. However, Israelis themselves will not view themselves as an asterisk nation, no matter how much you want them to. So if you want to unravel this situation, you have to understand, no matter what we think about Israel, they are not going to view themselves that way. They are going to take for themselves the same rights that every sovereign nation has. So if they have an organization on their border which is swearing to never, ever, ever stop, we will do it again and again and again every chance we get. They say we need to eliminate them. As long as it takes, we need to eliminate them. Just like America chased bin Laden around the fucking globe for 10 years. That is where Israel is at. That is the psychology. Anybody who looks away from that psychology is not operating either on all 8 cylinders or in good faith, because that is an unassailable picture that I just presented here. The day that a Hamas leader comes on in front of a microphone and says, we don't want this anymore. We want a 2-state solution. We were close in 2001. We were close in 2008. We asked the leader of Israel to stop, meet us, and let's settle. Then I'm on your side. Then I'll be like, what the fuck are you doing, Israel? Didn't you hear the guy? You at least got to, you don't believe him? Fine, but you at least got to follow it up. Meet with him, see what he says, try to work it out. But if this guy is still defiant, or these people are still defiant today and saying, fuck you, we're still standing and we're going to keep doing it, this is on them.
All right, I think you. I'll just respond. I know, Andrew, you're bored with this, but we're gonna continue the conversation. The next one, just respond quickly, and then I want to talk about.
Let me caveat. I don't mean that in any particular bombing where an inordinate number of civilians are killed, I'm not in the room to judge whether or not that was callous, a war crime, immoral, that I would have agreed to it. I'm not talking about the micro operation of the war, which may or may not be immoral. I don't know. In every war, there are things which nations do in terms of killing people, which I'm sure in retrospect were outrageous and immoral, including America, every war. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about big picture, the enterprise of trying to defeat Hamas because they feel they have no choice for their future but to defeat Hamas. I find it very hard to understand how people don't get that, given the fact that Hamas is defiant. That's what I don't understand. They're not talking. Hamas is not saying we want to settle this. They're saying, fuck you, we're going to keep doing it. And Israel says, fine, then what choice do we have?
All right, let me just respond quickly, and then I want to move to the last one because that last topic is important to me. But let me respond to that. I think it's a good idea for people to think and imagine we're sitting here in your home city and all these missiles coming to attack us. And this organization, all they want is to kill us. And they say it out loud and they said they swore to the end of life. But you starting from that point, you need to go a little bit further down of the mistreatment of
No, this is the asterisk.
No. Let me finish.
Hatem, they're not.
I didn't interrupt you.
I'm not. I'll let you finish. But I want to make it very. You're already off my point. They're not going to do that.
But
nation will. Listen, many people, even to this day, say America created Al Qaeda. America did this. There's all these arguments about why Bin Laden may have had a point, but that is going to fall on deaf ears. No Manhattanite is going to say, you know what? You have a point. I'm almost finished. No Manhattanite say, you know what? You have a point. We really do have dirty hands when it comes to Al Qaeda. So let them do it again.
No, it's not what I'm saying that Hamas has a point. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's the same organization that you saying they know that they swore to death forever to kill Israel and swore to. Yeah, and it's the same organization that you allowed to exist, that you negotiate with before, that you gave money to, that you were thought that to divide.
You're just making my point. You're doing exactly what it is that I said.
No, I'm saying you telling the people to imagine things, but the people that they're gonna kill us forever. We have to stop the war. They've been there forever. You should have not allowed them to exist to begin with.
Can I throw in
Andrew? Go ahead.
Yeah, Andrew. Then we're gonna go to the last one.
I think the fundamental problem with all of this is we don't have enough groups in the Middle East and in Israel and Palestine specifically. So what I think would help is if we took like Roma, Uyghur, groups of Kurds, and then just gave them all guns and sent them in, I think maybe it'd help. Maybe that sounds crazy, but it sounds like common sense to me.
All right, let's talk about the last one because this is the hot mic moment between President Xi and President Putin. You guys heard about that?
Oh, is this? Oh, yeah. This is the immortal bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? Andrew, tell the story because you're good at telling the story.
Me? Yeah. So I've only read about it. I've not listened to the hot mic, but my understanding is that it sounds like a joke. Putin and Xi Jinping.
No, that's the New York Times. Yeah,
and I think also the leader of North Korea were all hanging out and they were caught over the microphone talking about how 70 is the new baby. Nanotechnology might cure aging any day now. Putin said with organ transplants you can stick around a really long time. None of this is remotely ominous for the head of the Russian Federation thugocracy and the Chinese Politburo to be talking about immortality. Gosh, wouldn't it be great if those two guys stuck around forever? They're talking about immortality. Would kind of imply that Putin's actively getting or is planning to get organ transplants, which we can all assume are going to be ethically sourced from volunteers, of course.
Well, that's the main thing that New York Times was saying is even though it's a hot mic moment, but it's the dangers of organ transplant, from poor children, and the idea is to get organs when people are very, very young and give it to people that's very or getting older.
Isn't it already a thing where rich people get blood from teenagers or something? They'll get plasma from teenagers and that peps them up. Isn't that a thing? Noam, what do you do?
I heard something like that. Yeah. I don't know if it's true or not.
Sure. Would you do it at some point? But isn't that crazy? I mean, so they were talking about, what obligation people now that they heard about it, about the, the organ transplantation, from killing people. Because one of the reasons I'm saying this is because, one of the big problems here for organ transplantation in the United States is there's this big conspiracy theory that if you put in your ID that you are organ transplant, that they were not going to save your life. You know that, right?
Yeah. There's a couple of things. I mean, like, uh, I think you should be allowed to sell your organs, and I realize that sounds weird and ghoulish and horrible and everything. But one, I think you own your body and you have sovereignty over your body, and I am concerned with helping the most amount of people, and that means expanding the supply of available organs for people. My cousin just died the other day. He died about a month ago, and he was waiting for a kidney. He was on a kidney transplant. If people went, yeah, I'll sell a kidney for $40,000, $20,000, whatever, there'd be a lot less people that would be on dialysis and would die. So I think it's those two things. One, there's the conspiracy notion, and then two, we take a very moralistic view towards what you can do with your body, and as a result, we restrict the amount of organs that could be going to other people.
Well, kidneys is a kind of unique case in the whole issue because you have two of them, and I think the mortality with one kidney is very similar to two, right?
I don't know the whole details on that. I mean, like you
believe
can
so.
like look at liver. Like with livers, livers can grow back from very little. So if you were to like, bisect your liver and give somebody the liver, so far as I know, that's something that could work well.
I do have a paternalistic streak in me, and this applies to like, the lottery as well, that I don't think the government should encourage or facilitate, create a legal structure to certainly not profit on something that's no sane person would do. The poor people and desperately buy these lottery tickets. Poor people will desperately sell their organs, but if it's not going to shorten their lives, then it's a different matter.
Yeah, or like, how about like right now, let's say I don't know the ins and outs of organ transplantation. I think that they're very, very restrictive in general for medical purposes, where if there's something wrong with you. I mean, like if you get brained out on the sidewalk, they're not going to use your organs, right? But let's say that you have something terminal that's only going to affect one part of your body. It's not going to affect the other part of your body. I believe right now the way it's structured is you could, out of the kindness of your heart, donate your organs when you die, which is great, and we should absolutely applaud that. What you couldn't do is go, hey, for $30,000 now, I'll put myself on that list and I'll do that. Or alternately, like when I die, give $30,000 to my family.
So call it a reverse mortgage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think whenever you're trying to get people to do pro-social things, things that help other people, there's three ways to do it. You can either do it out of the kindness of your heart, which is great. My preference would be that everybody do that all the time, that we just constantly are giving to our fellow man in order to make the world better. That's great. Like, absolutely fantastic. It tends to be a fairly parochial instinct in people. People tend to be very, very generous with people that are in their immediate circle, with their friends and their family. Once people become abstract concepts, they're less generous. That just seems to be the way we're wired. So then you go, okay, well, what are the other two options? The other two options are either you force people to do it or you pay them to do it. And I would rather pay people to do stuff than force people to do stuff. And so, like, I would try to figure out ways to loosen the strictures on organ transplants if the result would be more organs around.
Well, the only reason
Makes
that
sense.
there's a shortage is just because a lot of organs don't go to waste because they're not donated, or the family.
You know what? It also could be, Hatem. I just had on, or I'm about to have Cass Sunstein on my program. I'll plug it again. The Political Orphanage this week. Cass Sunstein wrote a book called Nudge several years ago. That made the rounds at the time. One of the things he points out in the book is that when you look at organ transplants by state, there'll be incredible disparities. Like Texas will have 90% of people are agreed to do organ transplant. This is theoretical. I don't know what the states are, but like Texas will be 90%, Kansas will be 10%. And you're like, wow, Kansas is full of shitbags. Why are they so selfish with their, you're dead. Who do you care, right? And what they found was that it just boiled down to whether it was opt-in or opt-out on driver's license.
Yeah.
So when you're signing up for a driver's license, they go, by the way, if you check this box, you're not an organ donor. It's your body. You're 100% in charge of it, but we're just going to assume you're an organ donor unless you check that box. That in that context, the majority of people are like, yeah, that's fine.
But that's not
the other way.
Yeah.
And you go,
just to be clear.
Yeah.
Even if you check the box, you still have to get permission from the family, and that's the main problem that I'm saying.
Oh, is that? I didn't know that. Is that the issue?
Yeah. So but there's so many to it. But I don't know about selling. I disagree. I don't think people should be selling because I'm not thinking about, making money, or the point that Noam made, which is a good point, is like somebody like down on their luck and they sell. But I'm thinking about somebody that you love so much, and a kid, a mother, a father, whatever, and you decide to give it your, maybe you'll be like, I'm a loser, let them live, and then they become
Well,
somebody who's horrible. So I don't know.
I just want to say about Cass Sunstein that he once belittled the Beatles' success, and I think even I'm aware that in a private conversation, because I know someone knows him, he actually said the Monkees might have been just as good. I think that's what he said. So I would not take Cass Sunstein's
Yeah,
view.
I'll kick him off. That's fine.
Maybe
I'll
he
just,
was
I'll
just-
just get
I
rid of
hope
all
that's
that right now.
accurate. I don't like to spread disinformation and misinformation on a podcast.
He's a
but I
big
think
fan
that's
of the
right.
prequels. He likes the prequels of Star Wars. He says that they are a storyline of the rise, hubris, and decline of institutions. So if you hate the prequels in Star Wars, you disagree with Cass on that.
Yeah, and the other thing is like maybe he was referring to the Monkeys, like a band called the Monkeys.
Yeah, that is what he's referring
I
to.
know. I was trying to make
Oh.
a joke.
It was
Damn
funny.
it.
Tim, I thought that was funny. Like I would actually like it if he's like, I just think monkeys are better than the
I
Beatles.
know.
Like I just like our primate cousins more.
If you put a monkey at a piano, eventually he'll play Yesterday.
Hey, Hatem, I should point out you are the recipient of an organ transplant, are you not? That seems relevant to our conversation.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
didn't-
Well,
you
okay.
didn't
So
know
yeah,
that?
like give us some personal insights on this.
You
I've
think
been all
this
like,
face, this beautiful face is I'm a face transplant.
yeah.
I'm a
Who
heart
was she?
transplant, yeah. But that's that, what's interesting to that point is like they like I never understood that. They will tell me like oh, we might have a heart for you in a couple of days. I was like, what do you mean you might? Because obviously, so somebody who's very sick that they know that they might pass. And the way it works is like it's a radius within miles. So you have to get a donation from somebody who passed within that area. So some people will move to get it, but also the antibodies have to work. Like I'm from New York, right? So the antibodies is kind of like in that area.
Hmm.
So I have to get somebody with the same antibodies. So
Oh,
you can,
interesting. There's
yeah.
like an
So there's
environmental element. Okay.
yeah, there's a lot of it, but that's why in Manhattan, like a lot of people go to Manhattan because there's a lot of accident. But this is one of the interesting thing. I always forgot why, like whenever there's a holiday, I'm always like Thanksgiving or whatever. I'm always like, why am I just don't want to go out? And I remembered, like, it didn't even dawn on me, but years later that they said that they used to call me before a holiday and say, come to the hospital, stay close because somebody's gonna die today. A lot of people are gonna die today, so you might get something. So it was kind of depressing in that sense,
Did you know the person whose heart you received? Or
No,
like have you found out the identity in retrospect?
I just the age.
Really?
Yeah,
Can you?
there was a
Like,
male. Yeah, he's a male and younger than me. That's all I know.
okay.
You can send a letter. There's an organization in the middle. You send a letter, they send a letter, and if you both agree to meet, then you meet.
Okay. Yeah.
At least you could find out whether they were Ashkenazi or Sephardic. You could do 23andMe.
Yeah, I guess, right? It's like
I'm assuming it's an Orthodox Jew.
why?
I don't know, but they're the highest per capita donors.
Oh,
Really?
really?
Yeah,
Oh,
Is it what? Why is that? There's like it's
I
a
have I have no idea. It's something to do with religion, yeah, but I don't know.
yeah.
that.
But
Interesting. I
all
didn't know
major
that.
religions, that's another thing is like all major religions like say it's good for organ transplantation, but Noam, when is the new club opening?
Darryl Cooper wrote about this. He said it's because they feel so guilty about all the pedophilia.
That's funny. When is the new club open up?
December or January or February. I don't know.
Not November?
Gosh, you seem real excited, Noam.
No, it's just I don't want to make a prediction.
He's always what about the governor? Last thing, what about the governor yesterday endorsing Mamdani? Is it over?
I don't think Hochul's endorsement matters at all. But
She was very anti him, and now she's
I
endorsing.
mean, okay, this is my thinking about it. I don't know if Andrew has any thought about it. Adams refused to back out, but the game theory of it, since people are offering him no doubt money to back out, is that he has to back out because after election day, no one's going to give him a dime, and he's going to, and he can't think he's going to win. So if someone's going to offer him a sweet deal, a golden parachute, a job somewhere,
Or an ambassadorship with the Trump administration.
ambassadorship, whatever it is, yeah, he has to. The only time he can get that is now or before the election. So from that point of view, I think he has to back out. Then the question is, I don't know what Sliwa will do, but in a one-on-one race, if Cuomo gets his shit together and Mamdani really, I mean, I don't know if anybody saw the debates that went on. Cuomo was just horrible,
Yeah.
arrogant, dismissive, and everybody was attacking him. And Mamdani was, charming and energetic and youthful and sunny. And, so if it's down to the two of them and there's a debate again and Cuomo rises to the occasion and people begin to understand what it is that Mamdani aspires to do, and then the people from the outer boroughs and the old people get out and vote. I think it's not over. I just say there's a 35% chance in that scenario that Cuomo could win, which is a lot. But
Yeah,
I still say, go ahead.
My read as a former New Yorker is that Cuomo I think Cuomo went, well, if I can't be governor of New York, I'll slum it as mayor of New York City.
Yeah.
And he's just been like, I'm doing you all a favor in all of his media appearances. I don't think Adams will drop out. I'll tell you why. I think it would make total sense for him to drop out. The game theory of it is that they should like Cuomo and Adams should arm wrestle, and whoever loses should leave. Just like something, right? Whoever's lowest in the polls should drop out. That
Adams has no chance to beat Mamdani. Only Cuomo. But go ahead. I don't mean to.
Okay,
go ahead.
then in that case, Adams should drop out 100%. That being said, though, like I've known several politicians. Once you taste the sweet nectar of running for office, you never ever really want to stop running for office. Like Obama and Trump, I think both kind of enjoyed running for president more than they enjoyed being president. They just really like doing those rallies. When you have somebody come up to you in a diner and tell you that they named their son after you because they're such a huge, like one of my friends named her kid Beto after Beto O'Rourke. Not who I would have had as my top one, but when you have somebody say, I think you were the salvation of America, that is real difficult to leave. And then a lot of these guys, they just like Anthony Weiner, like they just run for office forever, even though they know they're not going to win because they just like running for office. So I think Adams will just stay in.
Now I have to say, I know Anthony Weiner because he was running from my district.
Yeah.
He really wanted to win. He thought he might win.
Yeah,
he really did. Yeah.
Okay, there might be some delusion in there too, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I would default on the politicians not going to drop out.
Yeah, I think they're too arrogant. By the way, Eric Adams was doing his support rounds yesterday. Can you see that?
No.
Can you see this?
Yes.
This is my brother.
Oh wow.
No, he never actually met my brother.
No.
Huh?
Yeah, this is him, the one that was calling you. So he was hanging yesterday with him. I'll tell you the story tomorrow. Not in the video. But yeah, this guy's I don't know. Can you legally take money to drop out of the race?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, like, it would depend. Like, theoretically, gosh, I don't know. I think if a think tank went, hey, we will make you a director for $300,000 of, the Center for American Progress, but you got to drop out, that would probably be legal. I doubt that you can just give somebody a cash, like just a duffel bag full of cash. I'm guessing there's some sort of thing for that, but there's other ways around it. Like, again, like if you got to put an ambassador or whatever.
Yeah, it's done all the time.
Yeah, probably. Maybe not a duffel bag, but yeah, a bag.
No, people offer, candidates agree. Okay, I'll drop out. You'll make me Secretary of State. That kind of thing.
That's true. Yeah,
I said it again. I'll end with this, and I'm not bullshitting. I think Noam would be a great mayor. For New York.
I would totally vote Noam for mayor.
And just the amount of comedians also, bro. You'll win it right away. It wouldn't be even. And imagine Noam in a debate with these guys. Oh my god.
No, I think you've got it. Now that you say that, I think you got a shot. You'd have an incredible media apparatus behind you with all the comedians. Even if they don't like you, they'd want the stage time, so they'd be willing to shill for you. And then you'd hold your own at a debate.
Even in the debate, like he would destroy them. I mean, he would probably, but I don't know why he doesn't want to do it.
No, I'm guessing you're an independent, but if you wanted to run as a Republican, you'd probably get it because they got that Silwa guy. I have to think you could have beat Silwa if you'd gone head to head in a party nomination.
Sliwa, yeah. I don't know why any of you think I'd want to be mayor. I think it's a miserable job. You have to get the trash and the snow, and it's not like. None of the things which get me going politically are anything that the mayor deals with.
I think it's also a big liability. Like I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Like New York's different, but when you go west of the Mississippi, mayors are just chairman of the board. That's how all the mayors work west of the Mississippi, is that they're the mascot and chairman of the city council, but they have no more power than any member of the city council, but they get all the credit when something goes bad.
Right.
So you have minimal ability to actually do anything, but everybody hates you. So like mayor of Los Angeles, that's a death sentence politically. You're not going to fix the problems. You don't have the ability to fix the problems, but you're going to get all the shit associated with LA. So like, don't run for mayor of LA if you ever want to run for Congress.
Look, and to be an effective mayor, you have to break a lot of eggs. And that's my opinion of the reality of being mayor. You got to be a disagreeable person and get shit. I have no desire for that.
I think you can be a great communicator. Kind of like you'll be like, my idea of Noam in a debate is Robin Williams is like, I did not sleep with that woman. I wanted to.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, always great to have you. Thank you very much.
When are you going to post this? You should post it today, because this, the Kirk thing is relevant today. People are interested today.
Yeah.
Real quick. Hey, listeners and viewers, if you were concerned about the increasing temperature in the United States and that so many of your friends have become dickheads that ruin Thanksgiving, I wrote a book. It's also an audio book in case you're illiterate, called Tribalism is Dumb by me, Andrew Heaton. I make a promise to you. It's like $12, maybe $15. If you read it, American politics will be less baffling to you the rest of your life. You will be less confused as to what's going on. That's the book, Tribalism is Dumb.
Andrew, also you gotta be good in the office. You can run for something.
I'll give it a shot. You know what? I'll run for mayor as a Republican in New York or whatever. I'm an independent, but I'll take it.
A couple of episodes ago, Noam wasn't there, but I had a guest, I can't remember who was, and he was, I shit you not, he was saying, we're referring to politics, and they're like, there's this book by Andrew Heaton, I swear to God.
Really?
And he plugged your book, yeah. So I have to
Nice. Thank you. If you remember who that is, email me and I'll send him a thank you.
Will do. Noam, anything going on?
No, nothing.
Comedy Cellar.
Comedy Cellar.
And forever.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, all.